JB here. Hope everyone's doing outstanding. Monday, December 29th, 9:12 on this fine morning talk. Really quick about the market. Some names I'm looking at go from there. S&P futures in the red, pretty much red at the lows of the pre-market so far, down over nearly a 0.5%. No news or catalysts really this morning. You do have some gyrations in gold and silver, right? Silver was up over 8% overnight. I was like, wow, here's continuation in the squeeze. Went down to into the flat level and is down about 6% here. Still at 71 bucks. So I mean, I think it's up 175% for the year. But I don't know. Markets futures pulled a little bit. Also, you have Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin was in the green. Okay, finally, maybe the bounce this week, and boom, that went to red just a little while ago, hitting the lows. So I don't know. Outside of tomorrow, we have Fed minutes, weekly jobless claims Wednesday. Outside of that, it's going to be a quiet holiday session. 3 days left in the 2025 trading year. Markets S&P is up 17% change uh, going into today. So the big talk 8 months ago was about the recession that was coming, the bear market, and fast forward 8 months, and here we are. The market is on an 8 month rally. So pending any crazy pull, let's see what we are month to date. I think we're up over 1.18%. So pending any crazy pull, the SP is going to close higher for the eighth straight month. And then you look at historicals, and I love the historicals. 90% of the time, the market is higher 6 months later. So, and I think there's how many occurrences? That one, two, three. Looks like 10 occurrences. So pretty good odds there. 9 out of 10 times the market has been higher 6 months later. Remarkable stuff. You also, outside of the monthly gains, we have back-to-back 20% plus gains for the previous years coming into this year, and we are close. I mean, we need a huge rally here, but we'll at least have a double-digit yearly gain. So just remarkable stuff, all in the face of all these headwinds. I put it on the watch list this morning. I wouldn't say it's comical, but how many different catalysts has the market been able to climb the proverbial wall of worry? I mean, nearly a year ago was DeepSeek. Oh my gosh, the end of the AI run. That was it. The AI bubble was popped. DeepSeek came out. All these AI names got destroyed. I remember over the weekend, reading some articles and people talking about this new model in China was going to just disrupt everything, cause the pricing power and all these chips to be destroyed because it didn't need as much power to run these models, whatever. And then you saw Nvidia and all these other names just get pummeled. And you saw, well, this is it. And then markets sold off crazy. I don't know how much the Nasdaq was down. You thought that was it, and boom, here we go. Then we get into April. Then you have the tariff tantrum, whatever you want to call that, and then all these other catalysts that you could think. I mean, we were a missile away from World War III, right? I mean, that's whatever the outlets are publishing. And then you had the credit downgrade. There was just so many catalysts that you can just keep going. A list of all these different potential catalysts that were going to be the end of the market run, and here we are 3 days away from another great performance on the year to date. So what is the catalyst next year? What does that look like? I'm doing my top 5 stock webinar. I hope to have it out by the end of the week, but you have to think, my concern is that there's no more catalysts, no more headwinds, right? The market tends to climb the wall of worry. Once there's no more worry to climb, then that's, to me, that's the fear that I have, that eventually we'll have some kind of pull. And it won't be a pull because of some catalyst. There'll be a pull because, right? That's the scariest kind of moves. But anyway, this morning, take a look at the futures. Friday, take a look at the market. I mean, it was open a full session, but the volumes traded pretty much like it was a half session. And that was on Wednesday's half session volume, which was the lowest volume session of the year. Probably going to continue. I hate to have these low volume days, because all it does is it's like watching paint dry, and if there's no catalyst, because analysts aren't really doing much in the way of upgrades, downgrades, they're just coming out with their 2026 predictions, makes it tough to find some names that might have some wild swings. So trying my best to sit on my hands. The hardest thing I think to do is to sit there and stare at the markets and not try and force a trade. We'll see if there's some opportunities here today. It's like any day, right? It's not like I'm going to trade something I don't have a high conviction in. It just makes it more difficult when there aren't a lot of opportunities that are presenting themselves. So hopefully today's different. Take a look at the VIX this morning. Just crossed 15. It's up 10%. And the SPY's here at 680, 697. I put on a watch list this morning, 691. 83, that's the upper Bollinger Band. So possibly some resistance there if we get up there today or tomorrow. And then on the flip side, 686. That's kind of like the big area of support I've been talking about the last week or so. I'm not sure in regards to getting a put hedge just yet if we break 686 here after the open, but certainly I want to kind of see the market get back above that Uh, Otherwise, I fear I might have to get some put edges. And probably, I've been doing this recently. SQQQ calls probably be the way I would look to trade, or at least look to get some protection. That's overall market. Um, and then just quick on some individual names. Sweet Green, Soul Reds, Reddit, all boring sessions on Friday, just premium bleeding sessions. Take a look at Reddit, down to 220 after the open. I don't know why I don't have the chart here. 220.26, bounced back up to 223, and then just kind of melted and chopped around for the rest of the day. And then a last minute push into the green and then close flat. Frustrating session. The thing is, I'm not looking to average or at least get lower strikes on Reddit. If I do get some more positions, I'll look to get next week's strikes. I think it's just a matter of time before there's some catalyst there. And not only that, take a look at the Bollinger Bands, tight Bollinger Band setup. At some point, there'll be a big move, 20, $30 to the upside. So that's kind of what I continue to trade for. Serve Robotics down 5% on Friday. No news, no catalyst there. Under $10 for a little bit, bounced above, and it's down here at under $10 here in the pre-market. The March, I think I put it on the watch list, March 15, March 16 strikes look interesting on a risk-reward basis. Only a matter of time before this one starts to break out again. There's been lots of tradable bounces, and when bounce, Serve Robotics, it's not like it bounces from 10 to 11. It bounces from 10 to 13 or 13 to 18. So that's kind of move I'm looking at. And then other names, right? Lemonade's down here at $72. That one's been tough. And me, when I try and trade some of these names on the call side, when I'm trading Lemonade, I'm looking to trade it from 72 to 95, 100. I'm not looking to trade it from 72 to 80 and then close them out. So we'll see if there's some opportunities here on Lemonade today. That also is setting up on a tight Bollinger Band setup here. If the market finds some footing, that finally could be one I get back into. And then let's see, why don't I have this up? And then what I mentioned on the watch list this morning. So I'm researching stocks for my top 5 stock webinar for 2026. Coco, Avita Coco, I guess is the name of it. Recent IPO. I guess it's, well, not recent, 2021. Not the most sexy name, right? But you can do some parallels, and I talk about this a lot with this culture shift in regards to people's health, GLP-1 drugs, all these different things that has kind of changed the landscape on some of these names I've traded over the years. And I talk about Boston Beer as kind of being one of those names that certainly this culture shift has impacted them to the negative side. And then you have other names that have benefited. And you look at a name like Celsius, right? And here's Coco, and Coco fundamentally sound, no debt, 200 million in cash. So pretty much 10% of its market cap is in cash, has an active stock buyback program, double-digit growth. And then, I think there's just an opportunity to trade for upside. So one of my requirements, or what I look for in my top 5 stock webinar, is stocks that a 35% plus move, right? And that could be upside or down. So typically I get for upside. So I look at Coco, I'm like, does this trade near $70? I'm not as sure that it might, probably some other names I would rather trade in regards to momentum side. So, but at the same token, I look at Coco, I'm like, this could trade into the 60s in a short period of time. So recent consolidation, similar to these other names I'm looking, tight Bollinger Band setup. And I think it was back in November, you had Jefferies upgrading it to $58 price target, upgrade to buyer overweight. Barron's had a nice little article in regards to the company. And then it's had some tariff headwinds, right? People talk about concerns with Pepsi and Coca-Cola because of aluminum cans and the whole aluminum tariff, mumbo jumbo, whatever you want to call it. And then Coco has a lot of its facilities abroad, and I think they import some of their cocoa water from Brazil. So there's been a lot of those headwinds, but I think they've kind of been able to work through that. And now it's kind of like consolidated. So I think it's ready to trade into the 60s. So the thing is, or the unfortunate thing, only $5 increments, only monthly strikes. So that makes it a little more difficult to trade in regards to finding a decent entry point. But I think the 60s in January look interesting on a risk reward basis. So I'll be watching today. If I see an opportunity, might look to nibble some calls for a move to $60. And I always talk about like poster child, or no, red-headed stepchilds, or whatever you want to call them. And I used to call AMD was like the red-headed stepchild of NVIDIA. And I'm not saying Coco is red-headed stepchild of Celsius, but you can make some similar parallels in regards to the company, its niche, and fundamentals and its valuation. You look at the valuation side of things, Celsius has a heck of a lot higher premium. So maybe it deserves it because of its growth. And I think it trades 35% growth rate. Coco's 10, 15, 20%, depending on what segments, but they also have an international part of their business, which is growing. So anyway, moral of the story, in a nutshell, I think it heads higher. So I might look for some strikes there. And then other names, RH is up 18% since its earnings on December 11th. But then trying to trade that 18% to the upside has been almost like fruitless. And when I say fruitless, for how I trade, I'm looking for massive moves to the upside on RH because the premiums are expensive. So unless you get a large move, the premium is just going to get eroded. Maybe today's the day it finally looks to break out. The 200s this week look interesting on a risk reward basis. Don't be surprised if I dip my toes on that one. I think that's about Solar Edge is down here. It's $30 here in the pre-market. We'll see if that one can get going. And that's it. I mean, it's funny. I talk about all these different headwinds. At the end of the year, it'd be surprising if you see this huge move. Gold's finally taken on the chin this morning. That if the market can kind of hold up, or if silver and gold start to sell off, you already had Bitcoin selling off. It would just be like another notch in this headwind, headwind market. Another notch for the market in regards to its headwinds that it's been able to overcome. So we'll see. Hopefully, silver doesn't go down too much. You don't want to see any. I wouldn't call it a black swan event, but events, large swings in some of these assets that might cause people to liquidate other parts of their portfolio, and then it snowballs. All right, let's have a great day. I'll be back on audio later. Rock and roll.